He smoothed the hair from my face and kissed my brow. I wanted ye from the first I saw ye, but I loved ye when you wept in my arms and let me comfort you the first time at Leoch.
This one's a long time coming.
It really is.
This is like our favorite. If you've listened to us over on the Folktown podcast, we do whatever we can to bring it back to Outlander.
Yeah, it kind of always circles back to Outlander. All things lead to Jamie Fraser.
Always,
Yeah.
every day of the days. And if you did not get that when she said Leoch, like you're not including an Outlander fan.
Yeah, we're talking about Diana Gabaldon?
I'm not sure. Gabaldon. We can ask her when we meet her eventually.
Exactly.
Embarrassingly, one that I watched before I read.
Same.
Be very honest with you.
Same. And I feel like, okay, we're going to need a good drink for this because this is...
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If we had done this when we first started the podcast, I would have come up with something really creative. Obviously, we're calling it the Sassenach. I mean, like, obviously. But then our boy Sam, Jamie Fraser, he has made his own spirit line called Sassenach. So we are doing a cocktail he came up with. I'm calling it the Sassenach. He calls it the Sassenach Old Pal. But it is 2 parts of his blended scotch. So that'd be for us U.S. people, 2 ounces. And then 1 part dry vermouth, 1 part Campari, stir and serve. And garnish with a little orange. This is his cocktail. I'm sure it's delicious.
I'm sure it is. And even if it isn't,
I just like to pretend I'm drinking him. So any of it's fine. It's the closest he'll be to my mouth, so I will take it.
Yeah. Also, the bottle of his gin is just stunning. It's just
his gin and scotch are the same bottle, but different. Like the gin has this greenish blue tint to it. And then the scotch obviously is a clear bottle with the like yellowy brown from the blended scotch.
It's stunning. I love it so much. So this book it was really funny. I watched the show before I read this book, which I think we both did that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know when this book had been written. And I was kind of like surprised at how long ago.
It's been around a while.
Yeah. So it was published in 1991, which I was like, wow. Okay.
And we were reading it and talking about this because her knowledge is so accurate to the time and the battles and like the Battle of Culloden, which, kind of skipping ahead. And this is going to be very hard for Amanda and Dayelle to stay to book 1, season 1.
Yes.
Because we've each watched the show about 69 million times.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have a background in history. Like I thought for sure she was going to be like a historian.
Yeah, but she does have a background in science, which makes sense.
For the aspect of Claire's medicines and that kind of stuff. But like, that's a very small part of like how this is a lot of work. This isn't just a romance. This is a lot of work.
So right off the bat, let me hit you with a little fun fact.
All right, let's do it.
So when Diana was writing this book and, obviously went to her publishers or whatever, whoever she was dealing with, this was not supposed to be a romance.
Oh.
It was actually supposed to be a blending of... the story was supposed to include romance, but it was actually supposed to be more sci-fi historical fiction with mystery and adventure.
That's because
of Jamie and Claire's...
chemistry?
Yep.
Well, did you know that the idea of this whole book and series is based off an episode of Doctor Who?
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah.
I only know that because the person that told me about this book, the show originally was my sister, and she also she enjoys.
My mom's a diehard Doctor Who fan.
Yep.
But yes, so this is based off a character who inspired the author to create the series' main character, Jamie Fraser. Which is so funny because if you ask Diana, the main character of this story is Jamie.
Yeah.
Where for us, it's Claire.
Yeah, but I think that was part of it. Jamie wasn't, in the book especially, because it's told in Claire's point of view, Jamie is a much smaller character. Whereas in the show,
it's a little bit of everybody. It's mostly Claire's point of view, but it's
you still
even get Jack Randall's point of view. You get everybody's.
Yeah, exactly. All the side characters are way more, and because the chemistry of the two actors in the show is so incredible, they just went all in.
But it's strange to me because if this book was written so long ago and she didn't mean for it to be a romance, like she wrote this first book like a romance. And the show didn't come out till 2014.
Yeah. You know what I found when I was reading this book? I was envisioning the show the whole time. And I think that is what made me feel like it was a romance. But when you're just reading it and you kind of like put the characters from the show out of your mind, it's way less romance because it's not the show. You get so much sex. We'll just put that right out there. There's so much of that.
Well, you do get it in a lot more in the more books.
Exactly. And I wonder if that's part of it too, is like as she went on, the two characters just developed into this very deep. And you don't get like the way she writes the love scenes, in the book.
The smut scenes,
you only get a little bit. And then it's on to the, like they're waking up the next morning. Whereas like obviously in the show, it is heavy, heavy, heavy.
But Dragonfly and Amber, we're not talking about that one yet, so I will try not to. But the sex is intense, and that came out in 92.
Yeah.
So I think maybe, like you're saying, just the influence of how hot the romance is between them made me think that the romantic scenes were a lot hotter than they are in the book. But
well, with that, I think because when she brought this book thinking it was going to be this like adventure book, not so much the romance, but the publishers were like, no, we're marketing this as a romance book. I wonder if that really
pissed her off.
I don't know. And she's also been very, very vocal about things that she likes and doesn't like things that have been changed.
Yeah, and she said the first book and first season is very true to each other. Yeah. Like very true.
Which I 100%, there's very few small changes
that no one would even notice.
No, and if anything, the show gives more screen time to characters that are much tinier in the first book, than they are in the show. And I love the way they like develop Murta's character because he's not as big of a character in the book, yet he is. It's like this weird shift of like, you get him, but you get him in very small doses, but you kind of love him. And then in the show, he was always one of my favorite characters.
Also, she describes him as a ferret-faced fellow.
I know.
A ferret-faced fellow.
He's tiny.
He's so handsome in the show.
I know. But even more interesting, Colum is supposed to be this very stunning face. Like he has a beautiful face.
Everything
and so
except for his legs. Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting.
And also Dougal they both have very long, beautiful, billowing red hair. And I love who they cast for Dougal.
Oh, the casting's
Dougal
incredible.
is just.
Yeah. I feel like, And I think for this maybe that we just do this every episode at this point, but like we will be talking very closely to both the book and the show because for the first season specifically, it is literally like, it's how I feel about, or I've felt about other books that have been turned into adaptations, screen adaptations. They did an incredible job of keeping Claire's story, because I truly believe it's like her story in the book, but then giving voices to the other characters, which I love.
I think they were also setting up for the fact that they knew this was going to kill.
Yeah.
It was going to do so well. And they probably were like, we need to get them interested in these other characters because they start to play such a big part in season 2, aka book 2 and 3. But I'm just going to show you, and we'll post it to the socials. This was the original cover art, and it was not called Outlander in the UK. It was called The Cross Stitch.
Nice.
It was not. I don't know why they do that when they change the names of the books for the UK.
I don't either. And I wonder if it has something to do with the publishing houses. Like I wonder,
for sure.
Obviously when you're publishing worldwide, I'm sure you're dealing with multiple publishing houses. You're not doing just one. Or if they have like a UK not version. Why can't I think of what it's called? Like when a company has multiple worlds. Anyway.
Like different publishing houses.
Yeah,
under the
but
same
within
publisher.
the same. Yeah. Okay, you knew what I was trying to say.
Offices, locations,
really
places.
Struggling with that. I also found it really interesting. One of the characters in the book you get introduced to, I feel like so much quicker in the book than you did in the show, was the Duke of Sandringham.
Sandringham.
Sandringham. Yep, that one.
The Dookie.
I want to say Sanderton, like the, Pride and Prejudice. I'm not Pride. Jane Austen's unfinished book. But you get introduced to him a lot quicker. And I also found it really interesting that he is kind of he's like the first intro to creepy adult man in Jamie's life. Like, he's very interested in Jamie as a young lad and tries to have his way with him when Jamie's like a kid, which is not in the show. They kind of, I think because they wanted the focus so much to be on Randall that they were like, let's not make this poor child go through so much. What I also found interesting is obviously we'll talk more about this, but I'm going to jump right in because it's one of those things that like ripped my heart out when I was watching it, is the Wentworth prison scene. It is crazy how powerful the scene in the book is, and you're not getting it from Jamie's point of view, you're only getting it from Claire's point of view. But it's just the, like, she's forced to leave him there knowing what is going to happen to him, and then nothing until he gets rescued, and she's seeing him after the rescue. But in the show, obviously, it was hard for me to watch those scenes. I've rewatched this series numerous times. Those I skip every time because you watch it once and you don't need to ever watch it again.
It is nauseating to the point of like, it had to be put on screen like that so you can see this is not just a normal flogging, as they call it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you are watching chunks of skin like flap in the wind. It is
not even
horrific.
And I think like that visual is something, but I think just the breakdown that happens between Randall and Jamie throughout that sexual abuse.
When they are showing him, his hand is so, they did such a good job showing how beaten to absolute shit his hand was. Like, it's a bloody pulp. Mm-hmm. And then him having to go through that pain and then everything else on top of that. Yeah. And it is a really hard watch. There is a moment where he's laying naked on the floor and like you can see he's like kind of covered in his own everything. Mm-hmm. And then the fact that Randall sees that and is like, that I'm taking you to.
Mm-hmm. Also the lavender.
The lavender oil. And when he takes his hair out of his braid and his plate and then just like rubs it on Jamie's face so that he thinks it's Claire.
Like, my heart hurts so much because it's like a moment in there that you're just like, for actors to have to do this had to take a lot out of them because it is such an emotionally
let's talk about
moment.
Let's talk about the actors for a second because so we haven't mentioned any of them, but we have truly, I think, some of the best acting in TV shows that I've seen in years. So you've got Katrina Balfe as Claire.
Which she is literally
Claire.
I know that obviously we saw the show before we read the book, but I cannot,
short curly bob, everything.
She is literally the person I envision. And then go on.
Even though I will say, because I have it in my fun facts. Diana Gabaldon was not initially convinced about Jamie. She was not into it, but
I had heard that. But I also, I don't know if you've watched this, but have you watched any of the screenings with them where they're auditioning together and when you see them come together?
Game over.
It's like, are you kidding me?
If I was their husband and or wife, I'd be like, well, there goes my marriage.
Well, and what's crazy is, I'll let you continue with the casting.
So to me, I will say some of the best acting in this show comes from Tobias Menzies as Frank Randall, a.k.a.
Sold.
Jack Randall.
100%.
The fact that he can be this beautiful, sweet, loving man in Frank Randall.
Gentle. I think
so
that's he's the most
gentle, loving, sweet man.
Mm-hmm. Incredibly forgiving.
And then become Jack Randall is just
like Two-Face, like that.
Oh my God. And the way that he has those deep set lines in his face.
Yeah.
And you could tell that's genetic, like the way that they're playing into the two characters. Mm-hmm. It is just
also
some of the best acting I've ever seen.
The long hair they give him.
I mean,
chef's kiss.
Nicely done. And then you have Graham McTavish, who is one of my favorite people. He's adorable. He plays Dougal. And if you have not watched him and Sam's show where they go around Scotland.
It's called Klansmen, or
it is
incredible.
Absolutely hilarious. Mm-hmm. He's terrified of heights, and they do this like rappelling down a cliff face to go. It is. I highly recommend watching it.
Also, they wear kilts. Oh, is it Men in Kilts? Is that what it's called?
Men in Kilts, yeah. It is so funny.
I think they do something that's called Klansmen. Is it a book? They write their own book or something? Yeah.
That's what it is.
They're just incredible.
They're and I love that they're friends. Mm-hmm. Like just two incredible actors that have come together. And then you've got Duncan LaCroix. He plays Murtaugh. Mm-hmm. And some of these smaller, here's the thing though, is like everyone they cast in the smaller roles are perfect. And a lot of them are actually Scottish Klansmen. Mm-hmm. So you've got Colin, played by Gary Lewis, Angus, who I just love Angus so much. He's so
Who's
cute.
The other guy though that is not a character in the book? The other kind of
Angus's
one-off.
buddy.
Yeah.
Hold on. It's probably down here. Do you know who I really hate though? Like really hate? Poor Nell Hudson. Leary. I want to square up with Leary.
She's cast so well.
She's perfect.
She's cast so well.
I want to fight her.
Oh man,
I want to fight her so bad.
Oh, she is just.
Also, Jenny, who this is a little bit of controversy because we're going to do all the other books and all the other seasons.
100%.
But Jenny, who I think is quite possibly one of the best cast people in this cast, had to be recast for the new season.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Okay, so we won't talk about it.
That is a really hard moment for me when I started watching that season, not knowing that because I don't really listen to like the going ons about the show because I just want to enjoy the show and I don't want to hear other people's opinions. And so I dove into it without knowing that she had been recast, and I screamed at the TV.
Yeah, it's not great.
So mad.
It's really not great. Okay, so we've got Lottie Verbeek as Galis Duncan, who come on acts her fucking tits off. And then one of my favorites, Bill Patterson, is Ned Gowan. Oh, I just love him. And then I'll be very honest with you. I really hate the Duke of Sandringham, but Simon Callow plays him perfectly.
Incredible.
Okay.
And the casting only gets better. So every season, right?
I'm going to disagree about one person, though.
Who?
I will say Andrew Gower as Prince Charles Edward Stuart is perfect. Just like a little pansy.
Oh, I thought you were disagreeing with that one. And I was
we're getting there.
Really?
We're getting there. Who do you think I'm going to say?
I don't know.
I think she looks the part, but I think that the way they made her play is like they don't give her the personality she deserves, is Brianna.
Oh.
I think she looks perfect. I think she as an actress is incredible. But Sophie Skelton as Brianna, better in the later seasons, right? But she gets that.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you're like, oh my God, this is going to be great. So she looks so good. She looks like the two of them. But then all of a sudden, you're just like, what am I?
Yeah. So we have to. I feel like this is a conversation we have to come back to when she gets introduced to the books, because it's definitely a heavy. Okay, yeah, that's hilarious because I think I tried really hard to stick to this book, which was very hard to do.
I'm just looking at the list of the cast, and that one is just one I really, I just had a problem with.
It hits you in the face.
And then the one I will say that was, I love David Barry as Lord John Grey.
Oh, I mean,
just perfection.
Those eyes.
We don't get enough of him in book one, season one. He's just a beautiful, beautiful, kind, perfect, sweet. I love him. He's just incredible. Oh my God.
Like, how did they do this? How did they cast so perfectly? And the relationship between Jamie and him. Okay, we'll do that when he comes in. We'll talk about that.
When he comes in, and then we can talk more about the next episode because I really do love Fergus so much.
Oh, 100%. The casting was incredible, and it's interesting to me because I don't know how involved Diana was. I know she did direct an episode in season 2. Yeah. I don't know which one it was in season 2, but obviously she's not the one that was writing for the show. They have a writer. But they still stay so true to each of the characters, and with the casting, whoever cast read these books.
Well, Ronald Moore developed the show, right? It is one of those shows where, and he was supposed to do Akatar.
I know.
And he just bowed out. And I think,
they
honestly,
said it was scheduling things, but I don't know.
I think what happened is, because you can tell right away, right? Mm-hmm. He is so true to the books because these books are incredible. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably what he wants to do with Akatar. Mm-hmm. Hulu could not give him the budget that he deserved or the way that he wants to do it. Yeah. And I don't think he was willing to compromise. I'll be very honest with you.
Also, I wonder if it was a little bit, he also is he really stays true to the historical aspect of things. And I wonder if that was a challenge with Akatar, because obviously it's fantasy and it's not really tied to any tangible.
Well, he did Battlestar Galactica, which is crazy fantasy. And he did, what's the other sci-fi thing he did? Star Trek.
Yeah. And
so I think I also think the thing with him is, like, I don't think he's going to half-ass something if he's not going to create.
True. And I'd rather that.
100%. Yeah. Do not give me, I'm sorry to everyone. Dayelle and I will die in this hill. Do not give us an animated version.
No. No. And
don't do it.
We're just let's take that out of the universe and then throw it away. So I remembered, I wrote down the name of the episode. So Vengeance is Mine is the episode that Diana, the author, she
makes her little cameo.
She was involved in.
She also makes a cameo on the show. I don't know what episode it's in.
I don't either. I didn't see that, but I misspoke. I don't know that she directed the episode, but she was involved in the writing of the episode.
Also, I forgot that the season finale of the show is the rape from Jack Randall. Mm-hmm. And one thing I will say for Diana, she does not shy away from the brutality of, like, if you guys haven't read the book and you've only watched the show, it is, I think that scene is almost more brutal in the book. Maybe because I have the imagery.
Agreed.
But I forgot that was I have it written down, but I forgot that was the finale.
Yeah, because I think part of it is, like, so it's obviously Jamie's telling, like, retelling of what happened to him. And I think part of it is his explanation of things is so gut-wrenching. Like, seeing it is one thing, but having...
When he talks to Claire in the monastery.
It's like in your head, and you're like hearing him say these things, and you're just like, crying. I cried. It's
a hard watch, and I'm not a turner-offer of anything. Like, I can sit through almost anything. Yeah. But you're right. That scene is, and for some reason I was misremembering the, flogging scene, because he recounts that as well. But yeah, that scene is.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And the lavender oil, like you said, and just the not to skip ahead, but when young Ian goes through that because of Galis Duncan, he explains, like, he's confused because his body enjoyed it, but he didn't. Yeah. And the fact that Jamie just, like, again, we get another layer to the story. He says to him, like, it's hilarious. The line is something like, sometimes your brain and your pecker don't agree, or something like that. It's something absolutely just a guy would say to a guy, but it describes exactly how, just because your body answered scientifically, biologically, does not take away from the traumatic event that it was. And that scene is...
Well, and I think for memories, like when you go through something, whether it's good or bad, smell is such a huge part of that.
Absolutely.
And so when you put that thought into your head, like a lavender oil, as soon as you smell that, you are right back.
Especially because that is a very popular oil scent for that time. Yeah. Like, lavender was the parfum, of choice because it grew abundantly. Oh. And it's just truly horrible.
So that being one of, like, the biggest things that I really like, I almost thought the book would be less emotional for me just because I had the visual of it in the show, but reading it in the book, it's just, you're so, like, in with the characters in the book that, like, it hits, I think, the same, if not more, when you're reading it than when you're seeing it.
I agree 100%. And also, I mean, we didn't really talk about it because we just jumped in with excitement, but you don't get scenes in the book of Frank searching for Claire.
Yeah.
And you get them in the first season of the show. Like Frank is losing his mind trying to find Claire. Where in the book, because it's told from Claire's point of view,
you only get
she
Frank
doesn't
in the beginning.
really know. Yeah, you get less Frank in this book. And there's a lot more of the war that Claire is in. She's a nurse in the British Army in the middle of World War II.
Yeah.
And she's seen some shit.
Yeah.
And she brings that with her for her knowledge. And you get pieces of it, but you don't get that intense.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah. I also think like you get more of her and Frank's relationship, so you understand the deep like bond that she has with Frank, and it makes sense in the show, or it makes you understand a lot more in the show why she is so, because in my mind I'm like, just let him go. Like,
absolutely.
Why are you holding on to it? But in the book, you feel he is such a sweet, caring man. And like, even when she's the doctor or she's a nurse in the war and he's away on, doing his war stuff.
War stuff. Yep, got it.
There is this like moment where he's coming home from like, meeting with one of the professors when they're on their little like holiday to find themselves again, find their marriage again. And he comes home and he sees the ghost outside, that whole thing. When he's talking to her about like, if you did have relationships with the men, like I would understand and I wouldn't, like I would still love you. It wouldn't change anything.
She's so mad.
Yeah, but like the way he handles that is just so
sweet.
And that stays true, like in the TV series for sure. Like that stays true throughout. Like
Agreed.
He is so in love with her, whereas Jamie is Claire's for sure soulmate. Whereas Frank, she loves very deeply, but the love for Jamie just goes so much further at her core that
Can you imagine that though?
No.
Can you imagine loving someone so much you cannot bring yourself to take that ring off?
Yeah. But yet you can't leave.
You cannot leave. Like you've never felt something like this before in your life.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, okay.
It's wild. I think
it is so well done.
Yes. I also think, and I found this interesting reading the book, because again, I already knew what was going to happen. But in the book, the time that it takes to get to the stones, and then that whole thing where she's in this, time that's not her own, it is such she kind of like, you get way less of that story in the show because you're getting different points of view in the show, whereas in the book it's just Claire. And so it moves like slowly, yet in the show it feels like it moves really quickly, but you're still getting the book and the show. It's making sense of what's happening, but visually, as opposed to reading something that you need more of like the inner dialogue to figure out, where she's constantly like thinking through, like she's always thinking about escaping, which in the show she is too, but she's also like, she's
not
a
as
prisoner.
Traumatic either. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's a prisoner at Column's house, where in the book that's not the case. She's never a prisoner. She's just kind of asked if she'll be, and she kind of just does like, I mean, she probably couldn't leave if she wanted to.
Both times they give her the surgery and,
Yeah.
But there's also this aspect, too, that she, I like that they took pieces from the book, accurate to the book, and she narrates over what's happening in between these scenes. And I think it sets it up so that you're not losing that Claire perspective.
100%.
And it makes the show go back to being multi-view to just Claire's point of view. You forget for a second, you're like, oh, duh, this is her story.
Yeah.
And she wants to get back to Craig New Dune. The only thing that I kind of like better in the show than they did in the book, and we've talked about this, is Mr. Crook. I like him in the book. He's like this little old man that's teaching her what all these plants and everything are for.
Yeah.
But Mrs. Crook ends up being the cook at... what's the name of Jamie's home? Why can't I not think? Lollybrook.
Oh, Lollybrook.
So they kind of utilize that name, but it's not the same
different.
character. So
Yeah.
they kind of get rid of that character, and Claire's kind of doing this on her own.
Yeah.
But I liked that her and Frank went to Craig Dune together at night to spy on the women doing their ritual. There was just something so romantic about how the two of them did this together, where Frank is so curious and Claire's just along for the ride because she loves him so much. And she's like, oh, maybe I'll go look for this flower while we're there.
Yeah.
I really did prefer the show version of that.
Also visually,
it was beautiful.
Yes, I agree.
The theme song, we haven't even talked about that. The Skyboat song. Oh my God.
Perfection.
I sing it like all day in my head always. We were just singing it before we sat down.
Playing on repeat. So that was something that I was like, in the book, when she's at Wentworth and Jamie's like basically like trading his body for her freedom.
Safety, yeah.
And Randall throws her, similar to like what happens in the show, but one of the differences that I was like kind of curious and wondered why they took this out, because I kind of enjoyed it in the book, is when she falls into this pit, the same kind of thing. She doesn't realize where she is and she wakes up and she thinks it's a log, but it's a human body, all this stuff. And she crawls out. She's surrounded by wolves. And you do get that. You get it, but it's such a small.
You get it later in the show.
But it's different because there's a character that saves her that doesn't exist in the book. In the show.
In the show. I know. And that was one of those things where they kind of, I don't know why they didn't take the creative freedom. Maybe it's to get the wolves to choreograph all of that, maybe.
Well, even if you just you have one wolf that's trying to get her, still being rescued by the guy that's in the bear suit. I loved that visual.
Well, they gave that character to the Native American series. I know. I think they borrowed from a lot of it because I like this character.
Fair. Okay.
But
that's true. That was just a moment where I was like, huh. And that's also when you find out about the bracelet that Claire's wearing, the bracelets that Claire's wearing, who gave them to Jamie's mother and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I appreciated in the show that was done differently, because I think that's a super emotional part of the bond.
Also, hold on. Wait. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm not skipping ahead. I am skipping ahead.
Okay.
So we find out who gave her the bracelets, right?
Yeah.
Myrta.
Uh-huh.
Then we find out Myrta's one true love is Aunt Jocasta, the sister of Jamie's mother.
Yeah.
So you mean to say that he was in love with both sisters? Did he just take Jocasta because Brian came along and stole the girl?
Maybe.
Poor Jocasta.
Wait, but this makes me think of the fact that you get Jamie's parents a little bit of their story.
Yes, I know.
And you don't get it in the show, but that's because they're doing a spin-off.
You do get the show. You get their story way later.
But it's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
And did you know that there's a book series just based on Lord John Grey?
Mm-hmm. I have.
I want to read those.
But that's part of it. So the spin-off that they're doing, Blood of My Blood, is about Jamie's parents' love story. And I am for it.
I just love...
Sorry,
I really love the fact that Jocasta and Myrta have this little lovey relationship.
But that's later too. We can't talk about that.
We can't. We're going to do whatever we want.
We have to do book 2.
Okay,
3,
we're going to do
4, 5,
book
6, 7,
1
8,
million
9, 10.
time. Another thing that I loved when I first read this book was number 1, let's talk about the costumes. Their costume department, they said, is so insanely large because it is 100% accurate materials.
Yes.
The way that they create the costumes, everything. Their costume department is insane.
Wait, fun fact. Do you know who the costume designer is for the show?
It is?
It is Ronald Moore's in real life wife.
I love that.
Terry,
okay.
Husband or wife, I'm not sure. Could be either or. And we love that for him. This person is the show's costume designer. And they have a deep interest in keeping the fashion for Claire's costumes, especially in the time era.
Oh,
which
yes.
I like.
I love that. And
okay,
also,
go ahead. Sorry.
I'm ready.
Because of the costumes, the bras are era specific. So she wears the stuff that would have been worn, which is incredibly painful because they use bone.
Boobs. Yeah, her poor boobs.
That's true to taking on that character, like fully taking on that character. I love it.
Me too. I have these quotes from Ronald Moore. So he said that in the pilot, there's a lot of things that he did in the first 30 to 40 minutes that aren't in the book, or they're compilations of things that happen in all the books. And one of my favorite scenes that I was like, oh, I am going to love this show is when Claire and Frank go to, I believe it is Wentworth Prison. No, they go to Column's place, Leoch.
Yeah. Castle
Leoch. And they're downstairs, and she's like, this might have been the surgery.
Yes.
And she sits on her little thing, and then he just finger blasts the shit out of her and then eats her out. And that's right away. And I'm like, this is going to be my new favorite show.
Yeah.
And
that's so true.
I'm like, that's not in the book.
That's not in the book.
Another
we
thing,
are here for
I saw that, and I was like, oh, this is on television? Okay. All right. So also he said that he did not want the present time travel dimension in this traditional special effects department to come across very hokey and like you don't see Claire get like sucked through a portal. You don't see her. Yes. But in the book, the noise is screaming. Where in the show, it's this buzzing.
Yeah.
So interesting that he kind of changed that because I think he didn't want it to be like a painful experience. Yeah. And even in the book, which you do not get in the show, Claire talks a little bit about what she can remember from those moments. Yes. Like she feels like she came to and was like in something, like not in this dimension.
She talks about it in the show where she says it's like the first time, like when you're in a car accident and you're like floating in thin air and you're not, you're like out of your body and you're seeing this
in the
happen.
show. She shows when she like is in the car accident in the back seat. Okay, so and he also says that when he was first doing the adaptation of the first season, he had to keep it very straightforward because he wanted to be accurate to the book. And he said that it was kind of clear what the basic structure of the book and show was going to be. Claire's trying to get home. She meets a guy. Now she's falling in love. Now she has a conflict. Will she go home? And you can lay it out in a very linear fashion, pulling aspects from the book and like, you know, other books that I think people realize when you get to the second book, it's way more complicated.
Yes,
like the storylines go back and forth. It's not as linear.
The characters are all over the place. Yeah.
And then Diana, our girl Diana, he actually hired her as a consultant to the TV production. So she got paid to be part of the TV production, which I think helps to that.
I love to hear that.
And she said that she thinks that they condensed the book very effectively for season 1. And she ended up getting most of the things, I like that she says that, most of the things that she felt very strongly about in there. There's a few instances where the most important stuff, in her opinion, did not get in. And she said in the scripts for season 2, we're not there yet, but she said that it was so much more convincing to her that the show was going in the direction she wanted it to be, but she felt very included. So I think I just found that before, but that's kind of how you were saying before. You can get the fact that she's part of this. Yeah.
Well, and the other cool thing is the Gaelic in the show is real. They brought on a real Gaelic consultant.
Also, do you realize when you're watching it, they never translate the Gaelic for you?
No.
And I love that.
Same. And it also says that Sam, who plays Jamie, he learned how to speak it for real and can use it in like interviews and stuff.
Yeah, he sure does.
Which is incredible.
He sure does.
Also, fun fact about the show. You know the stampede when Jamie's being rescued? And
yes, with the
cows, the cattle? Yeah. Real cows. No CGI. Real cows.
Also... The Battle of Culloden, they did completely historically accurate. They brought someone who specialized in the Battle of Culloden.
I love this.
Which is just...
I love it.
Oh, my God.
It makes it feel...
First of all...
It's like you're looking into someone's diary.
Yes, and I just want to say... No wonder bitches were getting pregnant left and right back in the day when men went off to war.
Yeah, because like what else are you
see how hot they look?
Wait. I don't know how we didn't bring this up until just this moment.
What?
Claire talks about the smell.
Okay, I told you this when we were going to say this.
And the hair.
Yeah. Claire, you get so much more. When I was first watching this, again, hadn't read the book, I was like, I got to be honest with you.
Really?
They got a stink. And like, I am not putting my mouth on your nether hoods. Sweating under that thing.
And in the book, Jamie goes, well, don't you know how we pick, like how they pick like how horses pick whatever.
By smelling their asses.
Smell their ass. He's like, don't you think that's the first thing I wanted to do? I was like, oh my gosh.
And when you have that scene that Jamie and Claire are about to do it for the first time.
Yeah.
And he wants to do it from the back because that's how the horses do it.
Yeah.
I cannot. How do you look like that? And you're about to hit it from the back first time. Are you kidding me?
I know. And when he's like, I said I was a virgin, but not monk.
Yeah, something like that. But I was just like, oh my. And you have the scene where he like has to yell at Claire and he spanks her. Yes. And I'm like,
and then she is pissed.
She is so mad because that's domestic violence where she's from.
I didn't say I wasn't going to enjoy it. And she's like, if you ever.
Oh, God, what a hot scene.
And then that fight when they're by the water and he like is so angry and she's so angry. And then all of a sudden she calls him like a what does she call him? Something bastard, a rutting bastard or something.
Yeah.
And his face. And it happens in the book too, but it's different. And he just goes, before when you were yelling at me, what did that mean?
Also, wait, she calls him a narcissist, I think, or something like narcissistic bastard.
No. It's sadist.
Sadist. It is a sadist.
He's like, what does a sadist mean?
And then he says it's like a papist. I think we could talk about this for a million hours, but
for sure,
season 1 got 92% on Rotten Tomatoes,
of course it did.
And
of course it did.
It had mostly positive reviews.
Yes.
I don't know if we're the people to talk on this because we're not usually the people that read the book after. In this instance, I'm kind of glad I did.
Yeah. But I'll be honest. I kind of went back and forth because I love the show so much. I was like, do I need to read the book? Is it going to do anything for me? And I kind of fought with it, didn't pick it up for quite some time. And then when we decided we wanted to do this, I obviously started reading the book and I immediately was like, oh my God, like, why did I not pick up this book sooner?
I know. It's incredible.
It's so good.
It
does not matter that you watched every single scene, episode 100 times over. The book is it's literally the same thing, but it's so good.
It's so good.
And it's just more. You just get more of them.
This is a both for me. This is a hard both. If you've only watched a show and you're excited because of the show, I'm begging you to read the book.
Yes, agreed.
Begging you.
I agree. And I want to leave everybody with this one other fun fact about the show because I really loved this and it just makes me love the characters and the actors even more. So the wedding scene, that's a huge deal,
I know,
right?
It's a massive deal.
And in the book, it's so good. It's so good. In the show, it's this beautiful, beautiful scene. So the show obviously has the wedding is filmed, but it was one of the last episodes they shot. Oh. And the reason they waited to shoot it, so the director waited to shoot it because he wanted to give Jamie and Claire time to build the on-screen chemistry that they already had, but just get more of that. And he said that like when they shot it, the chemistry was incredible.
Well, I felt it in my living room.
Exactly.
So,
and I think that is like the biggest part. And so for this book, it is a watch it 100 times. And for the book, 100 times read it.
You have to, because you're going to love this. You know, like some people are like, I've watched it. I don't want to ruin it by reading the book.
Mm-hmm. You don't ruin it.
You don't. I think you get so much more of the characters. You love them more. Mm-hmm. Didn't think it was possible to love Claire and Jamie more together than you do. And 100% you get that.
And audio girlies out there, boys, do it. It's great.
So
and it does help move it along. Like I can sometimes get stuck on like, you know, our Scottish language in the book. It's incredible.
I gotta be honest with you, when I'm in the middle of a rewatch right now. I think I'm on season, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But maybe season 6, 5 or 6.
Good one.
I will say to my fiance, I'm like, I told you that you can, instead of what? And he's like, I think you're done. And I'm like, yeah, but something about dinna ken.
Yeah.
Instead of I don't know.
Also, like the way he says, Sassenach.
Girl, girl.
So on that note,
Ooh.
this is our season premiere.
Yay! We've missed you
back.
guys. We're back.
Yeah,
and we've got, oh boy, do we have surprises for you this season. This season's going to be so much fun.
We're so excited.
If you haven't, head over to our TikTok, Instagram.
And YouTube, guys, we're going to have full episodes.
I was going to say, and if you want to stare at our faces.
Yeah, you can.
Watch us drink water bottles awkwardly.
Also, watch me fix my glasses.
Watch me fix my bangs
times.
9 million times. Try not to touch the microphone so our editor doesn't yell at us.
Yeah.
As I'm banging the table as well. Okay, so welcome back.
Bye.
Bye.